primary ignition.
Welcome to Unlimited Power. My name is D-Rod, and here's my guide for playing Lando Calrissian at your Shadows of the Galaxy pre-release for Star Wars Unlimited, the trading card game. Now, if this is one of your first times watching one of my guides, I want to start off by saying the goal here is to focus on commons and uncommons within this set that can really fill out your 30-card deck. Because you're only getting 6 packs in your pre-release kit, you really want to focus on cards that you're going to see more of. Yes, there are going to be some rares and legendaries that pair really well with characters like Lando and their abilities, but those cards are going to be few and far between. So if you're interested in playing Lando at your local pre-release, or maybe you just get all the right colors that you need to play Lando, I want to help you fill out your deck a little bit more and make sure you're putting in some cards that can be beneficial to you. So let's go ahead and start off by looking at Lando as a leader and a leader unit and see what abilities he brings to the table. As a leader, Lando has the ability that you can spend an action to exhaust him. You play a card using Smuggle, one of the new abilities in the set. This ability now costs you 2 less, which is pretty good because Smuggle costs are usually higher than the original printed cost. When you do this, you defeat a resource you own and control. Okay, here's the drawback here. Lando has this great ability of essentially putting cards in a little bit earlier than their card cost, or pretty much at the same time that they would be able to be played. But to do this, when you smuggle a card in, you usually replace it with the top card from your deck and it goes into your resource pile, exhausted. You're still going to do that, but then Lando says you have to defeat one of your resources. So this means if you smuggle a card when you only have 3 resources, you would then put a new card into your resource pile, and then you'd have to pick one of those 3 to destroy. And that's going to set you back from your opponent. Lando can be a really aggressive leader, and you want to time this out well. This is not an ability you will use every turn, so make sure you're using it on the right turn for yourself. Now, Lando has an epic action where he can deploy on turn 4 when you have 4 or more resources, which means you can do this as early as turn 3. When he's in play as a unit, he's a 2/5, so he doesn't hit for much. He has a decent health for coming out this early, and his action ability says you can still play a card and it costs 2 less. You can only do this once per turn. Let's start looking at some cards in Lando's colors, the yellow and white aspects, and see which ones are going to work best for him. One of the first ones I'm going to recommend is their co-pilot L337. Right out of the Solo movie, we see a 2-cost unit that's a 2/2. Stat-wise, pretty fair. Now, when you play L33, you may rescue a captured card, and if you don't, put a shield token on the unit. So it's not bad to pay 2 for a shielded unit. You could also play this when you really need to rescue one of your cards, and it has the smuggle mechanic of 4. This is what I was talking about earlier. Some mechanics are actually going to make your cards cost more than they would, but keeping L33 into your resource pile may allow you to rescue a future card that your opponent wasn't expecting you to rescue. Next is going to be Coruscant Dissident. There's no smuggle ability here, but this card's going to allow you to ready a resource, and that can be important when you have limited resources in this type of aggro deck. That one resource can allow you to play another bigger card that you were hoping to play this turn, or maybe just putting that one cost event out there and really messing with your opponent when they did not expect it. It's a 3/4 unit, so it does hit pretty well for being a 3 cost. That 4 health is definitely going to keep it in play for a couple of turns, and the art on it, I can't complain. Now, what's really cool here, we are getting an uncommon Millennium Falcon, 6 costs, so not as great as the Spark of Rebellion Falcon, but it's a 6-cost unit that's a 5/5. This one is heroic only, and when you play it from your hand, it does have ambush. Now, it does have a smuggle ability for the same cost, but when you smuggle it in, um, you can do that for less with Lando, which I think is going to be really good because you can do that when you have 4 or more resources. The same turn you deploy Lando, put out this Falcon, and that's going to be pretty much a good, strong threat. If you're lucky, you should be able to get 1 to 2 of these Falcons within your pre-release kit. In the cunning aspect, let's look at Smuggling Starfighter. A card that costs 3, you can smuggle it for 4 or with 2 with Lando's ability. And when played, as long as you control another underworld unit, give an enemy unit -3, -0 for this phase. I like a card like this because it can really surprise your opponent. You'll be playing yellow, so you'll mostly have underworld units coming to your aid here, and you'd be able to trigger this -3 ability. The smuggle mechanic makes it cost 2, and a 2/2 space unit may be beneficial in a limited format like this. Next card I'm going to recommend is the Jetpack. This is just a 2 cost upgrade that has the smuggle ability for 4, 2 with Lando. You can give a unit +2/+0 while they're equipped with this jetpack, and on the turn it comes out, you can also give them a shield token. This shield does go away at the end of the action phase, so you're going to want to make sure to put this on someone that can attack this turn and really get the advantage of having that token. You can put this on someone like Lando, making him stronger, a 4/5, which I think would be probably the best bet for him. And lastly is Ma Klanuki. Probably mispronouncing this card, but I know it's actually one of the older ones that, or is referenced in one of the older games from the PC catalog of Star Wars. And this is a 1 cost event that says you can return a friendly non-leader underworld unit to its owner's hand. If you do, deal 3 damage to a unit. I really enjoy cards like these, and it makes it better when you're playing cards that can untap resources, right? You play this card on an underworld unit, maybe the smuggler starfighter, bounce it to your hand, hit your opponent's unit for 3 damage. Then you could smuggle the starfighter in later to get the smuggle mechanic, or you can just play it again to make another unit weaker. This type of event card is going to be a great common, and if you can get 2 to 3 of these in your deck in a limited format, then that's really going to be beneficial there for you. In the aggression aspect, let's look at Cassian Andor, a second Andor that we're seeing now. This is Cassian Unit. It's a 3 cost red white. That's a 3/5 unit with smuggle. So he smuggles for 5, which means with Lando you can bring him in for 3 if you choose to. And when you smuggle him, ready him. Again, aggressive. Aggressive is probably how you're going to have to play Lando, even though he's this cunning colors. But I think he really fits more in the aggressive package. Now you can also throw in Arm to the Teeth. I love the art on this card here with Hondo and his pirates. The attached unit gets an upgrade that gives them +2/+0. Maybe attach it to Lando. And you can smuggle this card in for 4 or 2 with Lando's ability. Now, honestly, there really isn't much of a smuggle effect here, so it doesn't, not going to hurt you to throw it on as a basic upgrade. But if you need to hide it, then you have that option, right? Now, what's great about it is not only do you give the unit equipped +2/+0, whenever that unit attacks, you can give another unit +2/+0. No restrictions here. They can be in a different arena. They can be your leader. They can even be, have no attack at all and different colors. So, what's one of the things I really like about Arm to the Teeth. And lastly is the Tension Block Rescue for the aggression aspect. A simple event that's 3 costs to deal 3 damage to a unit, as well as if they are capturing unit, you can do 6 damage instead. If you are going up against a lot of capture mechanics as an opponent, red and yellow here seem to be your best bet for avoiding those issues. In the vigilance aspect, it's probably the weaker one. There are less smuggle colors and less things that are going to work well with Lando. So let's look at some of the things that will fit best in case you get stuck with a lot of blue. The first one's going to be the event Fell the Dragon. You are playing an aggressive style deck and you need to get rid of obstacles so that way you can continue hitting your opponent. Fell the Dragon allows you to defeat any non-leader unit with 5 or more power. So this is going to be great just in case they get one of their big bombs out there early, or maybe something out there with a lot of experience tokens. Next is going to be Vigilant Pursuit Craft. Now, this is a 5 cost Sentinel unit that you'll probably pay 5 for. You can smuggle it, and with Lando's ability, it's going to cost 5, and you'd rather do 5 than 7. This can be beneficial in case your opponent's going heavy into the space units, and you just need that Sentinel. And last is going to be Rival's Fall, a strong common that can defeat any unit in play for just 6 resources. Again, you are playing pretty aggressively, so this may be the final move you need to get rid of a large Sentinel unit blocking your path to victory. Now, Vigilance wouldn't be the color I suggest you play with Lando, but again, if you get stuck with it, here's a way you can make it work. For the command aspect, there's certainly a lot of smuggle mechanics here that we could use, so I wanted to focus on stuff that really helped you with the aggro build you can do with Lando. The first one's going to be Outflank. The ability to pay one and then attack with 2 units is pretty strong, especially again if you got that Twilight that will untap your resources. Attacking with 2 units is essentially game breaking. You're using 2 actions in at one moment instead of taking 2 actions. So this allows you to move quicker than your opponent, get attacks into your opponent's base before they can respond, and hopefully take advantage of any of your damaged characters before they end up dying. If you play a card like Freetown Backup, this is a great 2 cost unit. It's a 1/4. On attack, give another friendly unit +2/+2 for the phase. A lot of these on attack triggers we're seeing so far is on purpose, right? It's about swinging with units, giving bonuses to others, and making your opponent make some tough choices. If your opponent starts seeing you doing this type of thing, it really forces them to swing into the unit you just buffed because they don't want to take additional damage if they can avoid it. So allow these types of things to work for you. Now, this card does have the smuggle mechanic of 4, so you can throw it in whenever you need to. It doesn't have that enter play ability, so I would just kind of be wise on when you want to use Freetown Backup. It's a great card to hold on to and then eventually put out. Just make sure you understand that it won't be useful until it is ready and can attack. And last is Timely Intervention. If you need to make Freetown Backup work for you, then why not you play this card? It's a 1 cost event that you can smuggle in out for 2. When it's played from your hand, you give a character ambush for the phase, which is really one of the things I like. Sorry, not when it's played from your hand. You play a unit from your hand and you give it ambush. There we go. Let's correct that real quick. So I think this card's going to be really good. Essentially gives you ambush to anything you need. And with Lando, you can make that happen for free. I think that's a fair trade-off, getting rid of a resource to play a card maybe like Freetown Backup. Goes in there, swings, buffs your other unit, and you keep moving forward. In the hero aspect, let's look at Smuggler's Aid, one of the only heroic cards in this slot with Smuggle. For 1, you can heal 3 damage for your base. For 3, you can smuggle and do that, or you can pay 1 with Lando's ability and do the same. Now, it's really a card that's just an easy one for you to put in your resources and use it when it's necessary. Next is Gray Squadron Y-Wing, a 2 cost space event that really puts some pressure on your opponents here, because every time it attacks, it hits the base for 1, or any unit it's attacking actually for 1. But on attack, it triggers this ability that says your opponent has to choose a unit or base that they control and deal 2 damage to it. These type of decisions can really put your opponent on tilt. It throws them out of their game, messes with their math, and makes them have to deal with this Gray Squadron Y-Wing. Last is the Wookiee Warrior, a 4 cost unit that's a 2/5 with grit, meaning it gets stronger the more damage it takes. And if you play it and have another Wookiee, you can draw a card. And lastly is the non-aspect cards I'd recommend. First is going to be Lady Proxima. As you're playing a lot of Underworld units, why not take a benefit of that and play this low-cost unit that's a 0/4 that just says whenever you play another Underworld card, deal 1 damage to a base. Along with those Underworld units, let's recommend Street Gang Recruiter, a 5 cost unit that's a 4/4. When played, you can return an Underworld card from your discard pile to your hand. Remember, Underworld cards are not just units. So this may include things that we saw earlier, those 1 cost events, that really benefit you when you're playing them like Ma Kalunuke. And last is Twin Pod Cloud Car. Not an underworld unit. This is more of an above world unit here as it flies through Cloud City. And it's a 3 cost unit that's a 2/2 that restores 2. This is pretty much going to be a staple in everyone's pre-release deck. It pulls a lot of target and hate from your opponent. They have to deal with it, or else that healing is going to be a bother, and that 2 points of damage can add up pretty quickly. But if you can get this kind of card out early, get that damage in, force your opponent to deal with it, it's a great one. Anyway, this is my guide for playing Lando at your local pre-release. Let me know how it goes in the comments below. What rares and legendaries did you get that paired well with them? What aspect did you end up going with? And let me know just how you did. I wish you luck at your future pre-release and sealed events, as well as I hope the Force is with you.